Well, welcome to Ashmont Live, exclusively on Facebook, and we have a very special guest today, and something that gets brought up quite a bit in the real estate industry is about staging your home. And a lot of agents, they think it's the greatest thing in the world to do. Other agents don't, but there's a lot of myths and things we're gonna debunk. And actually, staging is actually cheaper than sometimes that we expect. So I have a special guest on, and it's Kara Radabaugh. She's the owner of Hidden Gem Staging and Design, and we're going to bring her on and discuss about why it's important to stage your home right after this. Hey, Kara. How are you?
Hi, Adam. I'm great. How are you doing?
Good. I like how cute that little decoration's in the background. So.
I'm sitting in my home office, so you can see a little of my staged office.
Yeah, that's perfect. That looks really nice. So,
thank you.
Well, no pun intended when you're talking about staging your office, right? So we're going to talk about staging and why it's important to stage your home if you're going to sell it, and because some agents believe in it, some don't. And maybe some homeowners don't as well. So, well, let's talk about a little bit about your company first.
Yeah.
And what areas do you cover? What areas do you service? Let's do some plugs here.
Yeah. So I own Hidden Gem Staging and Design. I started my business in March of 2020. Ironically, it was kind of a weird time to start, but it's been a really, good time to get back out now and be able to connect with people, and also opportunities like this to meet people virtually. That's been one side effect of the pandemic. So I started in 2020, and I was really wanting to connect with realtors and help home sellers get ready to stage and sell their homes. And so, I think for me, that staging aspect was really important. It was something that I was really passionate about. And I, decided to start my business. And I also help, I do a little bit of redesign work as well. So I'll help homeowners that are moving into their space really love that space. And whether it's helping furnish that space, or whether it's helping, pick out tile and countertops and backsplash, those types of things. I help all sorts of home buyers as well.
Okay. So, but you don't, I think one thing is we want to make it clear kind of things that you do. We'll talk about like your consults and what that looks like, but I mean, you don't clean, and you're not a painter, and
Correct.
You don't lay carpet and stuff like that.
I help make recommendations for those things to get home sellers ready, or help people love their new spaces if they're moving into their new home. But no, I don't clean. A lot of what I do is around getting the home seller ready to sell. And so if we want to talk about some of the things why I feel like home staging is important, we can kind of just jump right in, if that's okay. I think the home staging process can sound intimidating for people, can sound expensive, and really one of the things that I try to do is really relate to the buyer and where they're at in their process, or the seller and where they're at in their process. It's an emotional time when you're selling a home. It can be anyway, whether it's an excitement or whether it's different living situations that's causing it. And so I really work with home sellers to help them get ready and present their house in the best way possible. And so some of the reasons why I feel like staging is really important, you're going to depersonalize your home and really have photos and listing photos and, open houses that are ready for any potential buyer. And so some of the things that I talk about through the staging process is really to depersonalize your space and to make it, you really think about staging as marketing it to buyers. And so when you start to reframe the conversation around marketing and getting the home seller to understand those things, I think that is really where it can kind of click in for home sellers to really understand that we're not trying to, love the space and live in it. We're trying to get it sold. And so staging is really marketing to the widest net of buyers to get more people to review those listing photos online and showcasing those best features and space is a huge thing when it comes to anybody's home. Most people want more space. And so if you have lots of furniture in a room or maybe some oversized furniture because it's super comfortable and cushy, some of those things could deter people or make it feel like it's actually less space than it really is. And so some of those things I can really help that home seller get ready for those listing photos and get ready for open houses so that you can bring in all the potential buyers possible to really get that top dollar for your home.
Yeah, the one thing like you mentioned before was about like just increasing your foot traffic. Mm-hmm. And we talked about this when we spoke before this about like when I started in real estate, no one paid for professional. I'm sorry, not no one, that's not right. But most realtors did not pay for social or for photography, for professional photography. But like I saw the value in it because when they started coming out with the data, they basically were saying, listen, with professional photography, which makes a lot of sense when you're scrolling through on your smartphone and the apps, if these pictures look great and they pop out, you're going to be one of the people on the list to, one of the homes to look at, Exactly. And because the thing is like this, and I always tell clients, like, listen, if those clients don't come here, they're not buying your house. So half the battle is just getting them here, so we got to do whatever we can to like entice them, to catch their eye, to get them here. And once they're here, then that's another battle you fight.
And you want them really focusing on the spaces and the things that are going to stay in the home and not the homeowner's furnishings that might be in the way of a camera angle or blocking a walkway or something in the home. You want those photos to really showcase that, and staging can be as simple as moving a couch or moving a couple chairs around to really open up that floor plan, to really open up the space and showcase the home in the best way possible.
Yeah. What we already talked about, so this is redundant, but when we talked before we joined, but what are the top rooms for all the agents out there or sellers or for sale by owners? What are the top 3 rooms that you say, listen, this is where you make your money? So make sure that these rooms are staged correctly, they're organized, they look great. Go ahead.
Yeah. So the top 3 rooms for sure are, number 1, the living room, that main living space. Sometimes there's a fireplace in there. Sometimes there might be an awkward entrance. Sometimes it may just be a really large space and you're trying to figure out, furniture placement. So number 1, living room. I think, buyers want to see how they want to think about how their furniture could look in the space. And so definitely staging helps in that main space of that living room. I think that's number 1. Number 2 is, your main bedroom, whether it's your master bedroom or the main bedroom in the home. They want to see, okay, yeah, I could fit nightstands around this, this king size bed or this queen size bed. I could have my dresser could go here or there's actually a room for a side chair in this, master bedroom. So those are some things that are really important to home buyers. And then the third thing is the kitchen, or maybe an eat-in kitchen with a dining area as well. A lot of times if there's an open floor plan, I'll stage both of those areas and make sure that those showcase so that I can not only have seating at the counter, but also have an eat-in table in the kitchen as well if there's space for it.
Okay, got it. And if anyone has any questions, if they're realtors or whatever, go ahead and put some comments in below, and we can answer those live on this call. Okay. So, all right. So when you go to do your consult, you're spending a lot of your time in the living room, kitchen, and that master bedroom. Is that right?
Yeah.
And I 100% agree with that. Yeah.
Those are the main features. Certainly with a consultation. So I offer a staging consultation. That's one of my first services I recommend, especially if there's if people are living in the home, if it's occupied. I walk through any of the spaces that we're going to photograph, but especially those main 3 spaces for sure.
Okay. Yeah. And we're going to segue into the types of like services that you provide, because there's different levels. Because a lot of realtors think, oh, staging, oh, great, we're going to pull out all the, and I guess homeowners, they're going to pull all their stuff out of their house, put it in storage, and then you and your 18-wheeler, Kara, is going to come right up and dump a bunch of new furniture, and there's thousands of dollars involved. So it's not like that.
Right.
Right. So one thing too I have, and correct me if I'm wrong, I always tell people when we stage, and I told you before, I hate that conversation. I hate the fact that like I have to go and tell them that you can't have 5 or 6 boxes of cereal like on top of your fridge, and and I'm guilty as charged, right?
You gotta take down the picture of your kids' artwork off the fridge. Like nobody wants to have that conversation, right?
Yeah, guilty as charged. But you have them over the years, and they do it. I guess it just depends on your conviction as an agent. But one thing is I tell people is I 100% agree with the areas you're talking about, but I always tell people just put it down in the basement or in the garage. No one cares about those spaces. Is that what you tell clients? Like where should they put all their clutter if they're going to do it themselves? Where should they stick it where no one cares?
Yeah. So if they have minimal items and they can, have it maybe in their unfinished basement or a storage unit, the garage, absolutely. Part of what I do, I realize home, buying and selling can be stressful. Moving is stressful. Anything I can do to help them organize what needs to go where, I certainly will do that. And I think it's important to showcase the spaces where people are going to live and function day to day. People, understand that the garage is a place where we have storage, we have tools. It doesn't need to have the same look as the living room and your main bedroom and all of those rooms that people really want to see that wow factor when they walk in. Yeah,
great. I'm glad, because I've never had a buyer ever say, "Oh my gosh, look how cluttery this garage is."
Right.
They never say that.
Right.
Because they already know you're moving. Like there could be boxes floor to ceiling. They don't care. So, and a lot of clients, just so agents and owners know, you don't have to, if you got a unfinished basement, keep it in the unfinished if possible, because basements are important in our area because it's cold. Right. And guys, mostly guys love that area down there, right?
Yeah. They want that man cave.
Yeah, the man cave. That's why they call it man caves, right? Yeah. And then cheese sheds. So you got your man cave. So, but that I think you should, make sure it looks good and clean. Even, it didn't, you rarely stage basements, right?
No, I really don't do that too much. What I will tell home sellers though is, if they have 27 boxes that are spread all across the floor, I just would recommend they move them to one corner.
I agree with
that. It's all about looking at the space in the basement and not going, oh my gosh, would all my stuff fit down here? Because you have it all piled neatly in a corner. It makes the space more inviting and more visibly bigger. Yeah.
I've never had anyone complain about a basement being too big. It's like a bonus, So
that bonus space is important.
Okay. So for realtors, tell your sellers to stick the odds and ends or just stick it in the garage or in the unfinished basement. If they're doing it themselves. Okay.
Yeah, they don't have to rent a new space or have send it to their in-laws or something like that. They can really, utilize what they have and just showcase the main features of the home.
Yeah. A lot of clients, they order pods and they dump them and then they fill them and they are gone for a while. Then they bring them back when they move. So
I would say if you're already going to do that, it wouldn't hurt, but I wouldn't rent that and only do that, for a few boxes or a few things that could go in the garage.
Got it. Okay. So let's segue into what kinds of staging that you do. Okay. Because again, a lot of people think you're pulling up your 18-wheeler, Kara.
Yeah.
Straight from the office. So what do you do?
So at my business, Hidden Gem, we do staging consultation, where basically we'll set up an appointment and come in and spend an hour or two with either the home seller and the realtor, or just the home seller. It really depends on who I'm working with. And I'll walk through all of the home spaces. We'll talk about placement of rugs, placement of furniture, furniture that might need to be removed from a space, or maybe we reorient a table, or pulling down some artwork or personal items that might, help make it feel like the seller's home and not like the potential buyer. So we'll walk through each space, and typically my home seller will sort of have a notebook of like, okay, here's the checklist I need to do. They'll be taking quick notes while we're walking around, and really get a sense then after that conversation. Sometimes that's all the home seller needs, is that quick consultation to really help organize their thoughts and talk about the spaces that might need to really focus on decluttering. Sometimes I have home sellers that they're really focused on, decluttering that linen closet. And, in my mind, that's important to do. And if you're going to be moving anyway, you can have that show well as well. But I think sometimes they overlook, like, oh, they have, three chairs and a big couch in their living room. And if we removed a couple of those chairs, that space is really going to open up. And so those are some things that I really focus in on, making sure that home shows really, really well in photographs and during that staging consultation.
So let me, the whole organizing a linen closet, when it's like, don't worry, like, let's think, like, prioritize, right? So what are some things, it could be 2 or 3 or 10, whatever you like. But what are some things, like, these are common mistakes? So when you go out for your consult, there's probably some times they'll say, well, we've already kind of decluttered, right? You ever get anyone that'll say, well, we've already kind of done it, but let us know if we're doing something wrong. What are some common mistakes that you see? Or like 5 things, like, I see this all the time, like, we talk artwork on the fridge, like some basics.
Yeah.
What would that be?
Yeah. So a couple things I think that people focus on that can be a mistake, or they'll maybe pre-pack some things out of the linen closet, for example, and put boxes on the floor, or in their master bedroom, put boxes on the floor. And then you walk in
of the bedroom
of the closets, especially like a master closet or a walk-in closet.
Got it.
Start to declutter some of the things, or put away sweaters if it's summertime, and those types of things.
Makes sense.
But then they'll have boxes sitting around. And so I think it's just one extra step that home seller can take to really help showcase those closets.
How big they are.
Yeah, to showcase the sizes, get everything off the floor. And so that's one thing that I'll coach clients on. I think, another thing is not focusing on, things that are day-to-day use items that you just don't think about. So, you walk into a kitchen and the trash can is right on the edge of the island, and it might be blocking the walkway. People don't want to, when you're taking real estate photography and looking at pictures online, you don't want to think about, that there's no place for the trash can. That's where it's going to have to go. So those types of things are things that I think are quick, easy fixes, maybe not super functional for people, but easy to move and change. Kind of going in that same vein, people will have cleaning supplies or, plungers and things like that by a bathroom in a bathroom. And, you don't want to think about, I'm going to have to clean and use these,
that's
these
a good
things
point.
in a bathroom. So really there's some things like that where people get really, you just don't think about it because it's how you function in the space. You need to clean your house. You need to have a trash can. Like, those are just functional things. But a lot of times I just have to remind sellers that how we stage our home isn't how we live in our home. And so, there's some key things there. I think some other things that people will focus on, like, say they have 2 or 3 children living in the home, and they start to focus on those, extra bedrooms, the nursery room, those spaces. And like we talked about earlier, to circle back on the most important spaces,
Mm-hmm.
I'd focus on your living room. I'd focus on your kitchen, dining room, and your bedroom as the main things. I think buyers can overlook a little bit of, oh, this kid has some toys in their room, and they don't have to be cluttered, but you don't have to remove everything out of the spaces. And I sometimes find that home sellers will start to like think they have to remove everything of, make it look like a child doesn't live there. And in a 4 or 5 bedroom house, it's not realistic. And 2, most of the buyers of those properties are going to have kids.
Right.
And so those are some things that I think I can help prioritize with that home seller, so that 1, they're not focusing on the wrong things, and 2, that they aren't feeling as overwhelmed.
Okay. No, that's good. So yeah. Living room, kitchen, master bedroom. Mm-hmm. That's the focus. So
the focus for sure.
Yep. So we'll finish up with kinds of staging. So you'll go in, you can consult, tell them what they need to do, and they can do it on their own. And do you call them up and say, "Hey, did you do it?" Or is that the agent's job?
Usually my agents do that. I mean, certainly I would if an agent needed that service, but usually that's the agent that kind of follows up. The thing that I will offer is that the next step then is an occupied stage. And I'm calling it occupied stage because obviously you're still in the home. It's just an extension then of that consultation where I actually go out and will help the home seller. And so whether it's moving that furniture, whether it's helping pre-pack and declutter. Yeah.
You didn't give them a honey-do list. You're physically the honey-do.
Exactly. And a lot of times I have a couple different ways that I do it. Sometimes I'll come in and they might not be home, and I'll just come in and do it for them. If they're the type of seller that's like, I don't have time to do this, I don't want to be part of it. Like, I'm thinking about my next home and I'm just ready to move on. I will certainly come in and do those things. And then I have home sellers that I really partner with, and we're doing things alongside each other. And it's talking through why I'm doing something and helping them, keep their eye on, okay, the goal is to getting this home ready to sell. And so, it's talking them through that process and working alongside them to help them prioritize and not feel overwhelmed. For instance, if you have a home seller that's been in their home for 30 years and raised their family there, and they have memories and they have a lot of stuff potentially. And so sometimes that can be a process where they'll need that additional support to kind of get them ready for those listing photos, those open houses, that sort of thing. And then the other aspect of the occupied stage that I do is I offer for that home seller that might not need that hand holding through the process to declutter. They're like, I got the declutter. I can move the furniture around the way you said, but you also said to, remove all of my kids' our family photos or whatever.
Oh, that's a big one.
And now I have this open wall that looks really bare, and I feel like it needs something. Or, I know that this corner needs something, but I don't really want to go purchase something. I don't know if I'm going to use it in my next space, where I'll basically add on an accessories package in an occupied stage, where I might bring in some throw pillows or, a chair, an accent chair, or some artwork or mirrors or things like that, that I have in my inventory, that can really help showcase the home, help them depersonalize in certain instances. And that also helps, it's a lot more cost effective for the home seller and saves them time. I'll just come in and do it for them. So that's definitely an add-on service that I have as well.
So and it just makes it more polished. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Cause most people have decent stuff, it's just not arranged correctly, or it's not like, my daughter always gives me grief, like, Dad, because I'm a man, masculine, so everything's masculine in the house, right? Rustic, hunter, right? And then she's like, but then you have modern stuff, and I'm like, oh, it's called rustic mod. That's a word, but I don't know.
Just tying it all together is important.
Yeah, she's like, either you have to have a cabin or you have to have something modern. I'm like, no, it's a combination, right?
Yeah.
So, but that's just an excuse. I have no taste. But like you do, Kara, so you can say, hey, listen, you have great stuff, but we just need maybe some color over here or a painting. So one thing too, I want to touch on, and you get this all the time, depersonalizing. I had someone brought this up this weekend, and it wasn't a client. It was just someone talking about taking down all their personal photos. Solve the great debate on that. Should people take it down or leave them up?
Yeah, so I almost always recommend they take it down, especially if it's on a focused wall, or behind the sofa, or a walkway that you're walking down the hall and there's all the family photos. And there's a couple reasons. Number one, it's sort of the psychology of that buyer is like then looking at your photos, your kids' photos. They're not focusing on the things that are going to stay in the home.
That is 100% true.
Yeah, they start to focus on all those things and not, oh my gosh, I love these floors, or this fireplace is gorgeous. They're not looking at the things that are actually going to stay in the home.
For all the sellers out there, that's true. They'll look at the picture, they'll say, wonder if that's who owns the house, or is that their grandparents? They will. They'll like
they're trying to figure it out versus
they do. And then it's just never good. Like even if they look like a nice people or not, they're distracted.
Exactly.
And that's true. It's 100%.
When you're trying to sell your home, you want them focused on that property and what they're going to get, not who lived there and trying to figure out, oh, I know them, or that, whatever. Exactly. And then the second thing kind of goes along with that, that if you have an open house and maybe people are walking through the home that you're like, maybe they're not super interested in buying, but they're just walking through. I always think it's important to take down family photos. If you have kids, you don't want their faces out there. Right. If you have diplomas or things that with your full name on it, there's just some security issues as well of having that information just readily out there for anybody that's walking through the property to see. And so if home sellers are like, oh, I don't really need to take it down just aesthetically, or they don't really understand the psychology of buyers and what they're doing in the home, usually that security reason can kind of shift their perspective to go, okay, that makes sense. If you just don't know who's going to be in your home through those processes. And so that's another thing that I stress to sellers as well.
Yep.
Unknown caller.
Yep, for sure. So the last type of staging that you do is above and beyond accessories, and that's your full blown house is empty, and then you're coming in and staging.
Yep. So I do a vacant stage, and a lot of times I think people when they hear staging, this is the one they think of, where I actually do back my truck up, my trailer up, and I have inventory, and will fully furnish living rooms and kitchen, dining rooms, bedrooms, that sort of thing, and really make it the similar vibe when you do an occupied stage. You want to have that flow. You want to show the floor plan. You want to show the space. And sometimes when you have an open big room, buyers feel overwhelmed with, well, what would I do in this space? And I've heard so many times of home buyers are like, oh yeah, I kept my furniture exactly how it was when I bought it. That they have the furniture placed in the same exact spot because to them it worked really well. And so they visually saw that and went, oh yeah, I have a couch and 2 chairs and it'll fit just like that. And so that vacant stage is really important to showcase what it could be. And again, it's all about marketing and helping that buyer visualize themselves in the property. So whether it's a property where a homeowner is moved already and they're out of the house, or whether it's an investor that's flipping the home, that staging can really increase that wow factor, get more buyers in the door, and again, it pulls on that psychology, that emotional aspect of buying. So staging can really help do that, and that vacant staging, while it's not needed in every home, it certainly could be an advantage for those vacant properties.
Yeah. Well, then let's move to the last topic. So this sounds great. Who pays for it, and how long does it last?
Yeah.
Or how long does staging last? Like, how long do you leave your furniture in there, and how long does it stay?
Yeah.
And et cetera.
So it really depends on the service. For the consultations, majority of the time, the real estate agent will pay for that. It's something that they can add to their listing packet and help them land that list and that client. So that's something that maybe not everybody offers. And so if you have somebody that that they're interviewing a lot of different real estate agents, that might tip you over the edge and get that listing. Mm-hmm. And then for occupied and vacant stages, it's a mix. I do have some realtors that will add on that service to like augment the stage or to do the sort of the accessories package. They're like, okay, my client needs this, and they'll offer that as part of their listing package as well. And then sometimes the homeowner pays. They're like, you came in and did a consultation, and now I'm like still feeling overwhelmed. I need a little bit of extra help, and so they'll reach out to me after the fact and schedule that occupied stage to really help them focus on what needs to be, maybe donated, put in storage, put in boxes, put in the garage, wherever it needs to go. Or I also have clients that they just need help moving a couple chairs around and they physically can't do those things. So typically those are usually the home seller. And then the vacant staging, that also really depends as well. I've had real estate agents that, maybe they're working with investors and they've built this relationship, and then they sometimes they pay for it. Yeah. And then I also have people that are flipping and are investors, and they budget for it and plan for it as part of their process, because they know that having that furniture in the home and having it look welcoming and inviting is going to bring in the buyers. So it really is sort of a mix. And then as far as timing, so obviously when the consultation is just usually an hour or two with the home seller. And then the occupied staging and the vacant staging, if I'm leaving items there, I will rent those out to the home seller or the investor for 45 days. And that's included in that like one-time price that they're paying at the beginning of our contract. And then if for some reason the home doesn't sell, or they've had an offer and then maybe something fell through at closing or whatever the case may be, and they need another 30 days, then I would rent that additionally each 30 days. They could renew their contract. Okay. So that's, hopefully that doesn't happen, but in times that it does, it's an option. They're like, oh, we think it's going to be another week or two before we get this closed, and they don't want to pull furniture out before closing. That's certainly something that we could add on to their service. Yeah. I mean, a 350 or less house in Central Ohio is selling it. Well, it depends on the month, but it's single digits, 7 to 9 days, 7 to 9, not 79, 7 to 9 days. $500,000 house is right there too, 9 to 11, which is crazy. And I think, obviously staging might fall into more of the $750,000 to $1 million, but $1 million homes were, 3 or 4 years ago. I mean, they were on market for almost 3 months. And now they're in like that 25 to 30 day range, which that every month I see that blows my mind. That $1 million homes are selling within a month. And that is an average of every single community, every single house in Central Ohio. So if it's downtown in Columbus to South Columbus, North End. So I think it's just crazy. I think 45 days would be plenty. Even if it falls out of contract within the first 2 or 3 weeks, I think that would be more than enough. So I wanted to give it enough time so that you have time to let the process. I know I think it won't happen overnight, but I think it's a good period of time. Yeah, good range there. Awesome. Okay, well, thank you so much, Kara, for giving us some great tips on staging. So you have a great Facebook page at Hidden Gem Staging. Design, or it's just Hidden Gem Staging, right? Yes. On Facebook. Yep. What's your website too? Tell us about that, how we can get a hold of you. Yeah, it's hiddengemstaginganddesign.com. Okay. Is it and A and D, or is it the symbol? It's hiddengemstagingdesign.com.
Oh, design.
Sorry.
Okay.
No,
Got it. Okay. Got it. Okay.
So yeah, you can find me there. All my contact information is there.
Mm-hmm.
And I also, on my website, if anybody has any questions about staging or about any of my services, whether it's staging or redesign, I have a place on my website where you can book a quick 15-minute call. It's a free call. So if any real estate agents have any questions, that's a good way to connect, and you can just book something at your convenience, and then I'll give you a call. So it's always good to answer questions and share information about staging, and hopefully for those real estate agents, I get a chance to work with you.
Sounds great. Okay. Well, thanks, Kara, very much, and for joining this episode of Ashmont Realty Live. I'm your host, Adam Ashba, Realtor and President of Ashmont Realty. And have a great week, everybody. Happy Hump Day. And we will see you all next time. Thanks, everybody.